there's a lot of different theories about how these layers and chambers are formed. One view that we take is that instead of the traditional view of either new injections of magma generating each of the layers or layers forming from sort of a settling down or sprinkling down of crystals through the magma, we think that what could be happening is you have crystals growing in situ on the base of the magma chamber floor, and you have a thick mush zone developing where you have a liquid magma above it, a solid rock beneath it, and then sort of a mush zone where you got crystals and liquid. And that in this mush zone, because of the density contrast between the crystals and liquids, you can have compaction happening. When this compaction happens, there's a few things that can happen. First of all, the liquid, the interstitial liquid that's between the crystals here, has evolved to a different chemical composition than the main magma. As its compaction happens, this liquid moves back out into the main magma chamber and gets mixed back in and causes the rest of the magma chamber to evolve chemically. That's one thing that's happening. Furthermore, as this compaction is happening, there's specific textural characteristics that develop in the crystals, and we've been able to quantify that. Another thing that we think is happening is that fluids are very important. So we think that the parental magmas for this magma chamber, instead of being dry like is commonly, I guess, assumed, we think that they were actually wet. There was some small percentage of water, up to maybe 2%, 3% water in there. And that as this crystallization is happening in the mush zone, the magma becomes fluid saturated. So the water becomes saturated and forms little droplets. And these droplets are very light, very light relative to the liquid and the crystals, and they form sort of a third phase, and they migrate upwards. So you've got this fluid phase migrating upwards, percolating upwards through the mush zone. And the cool thing about these is this is going to become very complicated, but the cool thing about this fluid phase is that it tends to harvest chlorine, because chlorine likes to go with the fluid phase. And the chlorine tends to harvest these platinum group elements because they like to go with the chlorine and sulfur. So what we think might be happening is this fluid phase is percolating up through here, and as it goes through that, it harvests all these little atoms of platinum group elements, of platinum and vanadium and these things, carries them up, and then when it reaches a place where it can't migrate any further, when it reaches the interface between the mush zone and the liquid, that's where it creates a horizon. And that's where we see these sort of ore horizons that are developed. So that's a view that's not commonly accepted, but we think is gaining validity because we keep seeing more and more evidence for it.